10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, and happy Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, many of you will start tuning in. Today, we are filming from a remote location, so we are not in our studio, but hopefully we can make this count because I have a phenomenal guest joining us today. She is a family member, one of our own. She's been with us before, so I am looking forward to this chat with our friend Colleen. Colleen Gallagher will be here with us, presenting us her new book. So stay tuned. If you are already watching us, make sure you send us some comments, and we'll see you in a bit. We'll be right back.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way. I'm all the way.
Okay, well, I hope that music got you all pumped up. I know it did me. And of course, it helps that I'm at a beautiful beach in somewhere in Mexico. I'm not going to tell you where I am, but today it just, you know what? We had to make it happen. We couldn't put this for later. I was going to go ahead and let you guys know that we weren't going to be filming today, but I said, no, we got to. And then I had people calling me and saying, hey, we know you're in Mexico, but are you still going to be doing your live? And I said, of course, I got an awesome guest. So we are not going to make her wait. She is backstage waiting to come on and say hello to you guys. So here we go. We want to welcome Colleen Gallagher to our show of Lunch with Faride.
Hello. How are you, Faride?
Hey, I am suffering over here on a beach. So I'm sorry for everybody that can't be here, but I gotta tell you, this is beautiful. I took a little spring break. The kids are on spring break. And so I'm like, where do I go? What do I do? You know, we've been locked up for a year. So I figured I would just come to a little secluded place near San Diego. So I'm still near the USA. But it's been beautiful. I've been here for a few days, and it's just been so relaxing. And I'm so happy to have you. So tell us how you've been.
I've been so good. First of all, I'm so happy to hear you're at the beach. I just went to the ocean yesterday, so it's always nice to be there. But I'm really good. I'm excited. We just started spring, so the second day in spring, and my third book, An Uncompromised Life, and our whole healing box and experience is here. It's arrived, and it comes out through distribution. So main bookstores June 8th, but people can buy it directly through me now. So we wanted to start the momentum to really help people and impact people as we are transitioning out of this year lockdown of what just happened and entering into a thriver state again.
Can you believe it's been a year already?
It's wild. And it's like, I still feel like we have another at least like 12, 18 months before it's back to new normalcy. I don't think we'll ever go back to what was. There'll be a new, but yeah, it's been quite an adventure.
I know. Well, we're blessed to be here. We're blessed to be talking about being here a year later, right? Mm-hmm. I know that many people weren't, and I know that a lot of people went through some tough times. And some of them are still going through that. So let's bring some hope. Let's bring some encouragement to those people, and tell us more about your book. I can't wait to hear about it. I know it's called, let's put it on here so people can see it. An Uncompromised Life. How interesting. Uncompromised. The one word that scares people, mainly men, compromise, right?
Yeah.
What is an uncompromised life? Tell us more about that.
Yes. So this is the book. So it's an uncompromised life, overcome trauma and heartbreak, experience the unexplainable, and truly fall in love. So this is my third book in 3 years, and we already are working on my fourth book. For those of you who are avid Colleen readers or listeners. But this book was really about, I mean, it couldn't really come in a more perfect time. As COVID kind of happened, I had actually a really interesting experience with Western medicine. So when I was diagnosed with cancer at age 14, my long-term diagnosis of what would happen is I would need 2 surgeries. Well, I need 1 surgery, then another. I had a few other treatments, and I'd be on medication for the rest of my life. And that when I wanted to become pregnant, it was going to be very challenging for me. I'd have to switch my medication dosages. So I didn't really know a lot about Western medicine. I mean, I know a lot of us learned a lot this year through COVID, whether, whatever spectrum you're on of what could be perceived as conspiracy or holistic health, and some that's very much Western medicine. So what kind of happened in my life is 4 years ago in 2017, I decided I was going to leave my job in America. I worked for a $23 billion company, and I was going to go follow my dreams, which was I wanted to live international. And at the time, I'd already lived in about 4 different countries outside of the US with my undergrad degree. But I got up and I decided I'm moving to New Zealand. And so I packed my bags, literally moved across the world. And just to put it in perspective, I grew up in Michigan. So to get to me in New Zealand, it was like a 3.5-hour flight to LA. 12.5-hour flight to Auckland, New Zealand, 1-hour flight to Wellington. Like I made it like I was out, like there was not really a lot of ways to get to me. And I started to get off the medication I'd been on for, like I was supposed to be on for the rest of my life. And I started thinking like, maybe there's another way to heal ourselves. Like maybe, just maybe whatever diagnosis we get, even if it's as a kid or an adult, like that's just not it. There could be more we could do. And so as COVID kind of started, I found out I had an unplanned pregnancy that I didn't know was possible because I was in a co-created narcissistic and codependent relationship. For those of you listening, what does that mean? I know people would throw out this term narcissism and I would think like, oh, it's like someone who's super confident or full of themselves. That's not what it is. Someone who's emotionally codependent. And I think back to what you said, women, we kind of been taught this way growing up to be more emotionally codependent of what's everyone else need? What can I do to please everyone? I want everyone to be happy, even at the cost of my own good or my own sanity, because I don't really know, like, I don't know what else to do but to think of everyone else. And that was very much me. Or in the spiritual communities, we can call it very empathic people who pull from other people's emotions. And unknowingly, if you're not, practicing how to use your empathic, we all are empathic, but if you're not practicing how to use it, you will naturally put other people before you because you're not really taught to put ourselves first. And so that would be a codependent. And a narcissist is someone who typically goes after people like this. They know the archetype, kind of like when you think of business, you're doing a client avatar. Narcissists basically go after this client avatar. That's basically someone who is like always putting other people before them, very talented, very driven, but they're not really skilled and trained to put them first. And so the narcissist comes in and they start to use those talents and skills for their benefit. And the codependent at the time has no idea really what's going on, besides that they feel tired all the time. They feel like extreme fatigue, overworked, like not appreciated. And they always think there's problems going on in their mind, even though the narcissist and the codependent have no idea what's really going on. And so I created this unplanned pregnancy to really save my life and bring me back to my body to understand what was going on in my crazy life that I created. And also I beat Western medicine. I beat the fact that I wasn't on medication and I still was able to get pregnant. And then I let my child go, or what people would call an abortion. I choose the other word, but I let my child go. And there was a beautiful story of how that was choosing myself and being true to who I was. And how the name Ella came to me and how to really cope with loss. Because after this year, a lot of us have coped. We're gone through loss or trauma, whether it's a job. And so I really walk you through how to make sense of kind of the inexplainable pain that we've gone through. So this book is really relatable, I feel like, in many areas of what's going on in the world and what you've just gone through. Because I really have 3 aspects to it. So that's kind of what the book's about and what I go into. But I'm happy.
I'm
Yeah, but I'm
interested.
happy to open any dialogue or questions you have a little bit more specific.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so you said something where you allow that narcissist person to come into you because your space, your mental space, is at a different weakness, I would say, because I would call it a weakness. Right?
It was like an unaware weakness. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. An unaware weakness. Tell me a little bit more how people, especially women, let's talk about women for a moment. Women, we tend to, and I'm not sure if this is related or not, and you can, educate me on this, but let's say we fall in love, or we fall in lust, right? Because there's a very close line in between love and lust. So let's say we're either in love or in lust, and we're the doers. We're the ones that have so much to give. How does that relate to what you are just saying right now, where we allow this narcissist people to come into us and utilize our skills for their benefits, but we don't even realize it? How can we help that?
Yeah. So one thing that's really important. So this is two things I want to go into, and such a good question. So happy you asked that. So one, I actually knew I was pregnant 3 days. Like I knew the morning within 12 hours of when an event happened. It's in the book. And then I knew within 12 hours. I went as soon as I could go to a clinic, and they were like, we can't tell. We don't know if you are. And I was like, no, I know. Like I knew before the doctors knew. And so one, we have a lot of women who are running around, and men, arguably, men is the same thing, that are disconnected from their bodies. The reason that most of us are disconnected from our bodies are most people who are like, I didn't even know I was pregnant. Like to me, I can't even relate to that. Like I knew the moment I woke up like one morning, I knew. Like it's so wild for me to hear people be like, I didn't know for months. I'm like, what type of trauma or what type of pain have you gone through to be that disassociated from your body? So what's happened a lot of times, men and women, anytime really trauma, and Dr. Peter Levon states this, he's kind of a trauma specialist with research, or he is a trauma, but what he says is anything that has emotionally destabilized you is trauma. So anytime you were a little kid and you didn't feel like you were like seen, heard, felt, your feelings weren't validated, your way that you were perceiving reality wasn't validated, it was basically told like that's not correct, how you're seeing reality is false, is trauma. And so in those moments as you're growing up, you're disconnecting from reality more and more and more. And so majority of us, if you were to think in reality right now, are probably, I'd maybe say out of developed, like, I don't know, countries of people that you're out of just safety mode, probably 10 to 15% of that population is embodied. Like is actually knows what's going on versus like, I'm going to work. Every time you go to work, you don't really want to go to work. You're becoming disembodied because it's so painful that you're living a life that you don't want to be living. You disassociate. And if you can imagine a lifetime, which is most people going through life disassociating because they think they're showing up to something that's their only option, there's no other option, you become prone to this type of behavior. And so if you think about it, like, you could say even, I'm not saying every company, but you could think companies say, here, this is what I'm going to do. This is who I'm going to be. And if you show up as a codependent going, well, I'm going to offer all my gifts, I'm going to do these things, and I don't even like the mission. Well, technically that company entity would be a narcissist and you would be a codependent because you're disconnected. Now that's, that's taking two things versus people. But the way I like to describe this, if you put it in a person, is think of yourself like this. So those of us who kind of like run around and we have so much to give, like a lot of the times women, I'm going to give this, and I'm going to give this, I'm going to give this, like I'm going to help the babysitter with this, or I'm going to pick up these people and I don't have really time to do this because I need to take care of my own health, but I'm going to da-da-da-da-da-da. I say it's like you're like a water bottle that's constantly being filled, but you have leaks. So it's constantly, your water's leaking everywhere. So like you're constantly getting water, but it's just pouring out of you. And it seems like you can never quite get a grasp on reality. Where the narcissist comes along and they see people like this and they just sit there and they take your water and they start to actually put more water in to take from you until you realize, holy shit, half of my water that I'm getting is all going here. It's leaking. And that would be like a visual from a narcissistic and a codependent way.
Wow.
We all have done those.
Oh yes, all the time. And we do it not only with like our partners, we do it with our daily life. There is our own children. I got a few children, so I could tell you, depending on what their personality is, a lot of them are just right there catching that water that you just spoke about. So That was a great example. Now, how does one prevent that? Does your book give us like kind of like to-dos, or is it more like a storyline?
No, I give you like tactical, so it's both. So I give you a storyline so you can kind of see yourself in it and also be really relatable to just feel like you're safe to share your story. I feel like so many women have gone through, and men, like there's a lot of men who have bought this book actually. It's like, it's really interesting and so it goes through a story, but it also gives you the practical of like, how do you overcome people pleasing? How do you actually start to create a heart-centered business? How do you actually start to overcome trauma? And I give you like very specific like journaling questions or things to think about or habits to implement. But what I think it's really important, no matter where you're at, you know, with narcissism and codependency, what I like to say is I'm not really a big fan of everyone's like, oh, narcissistic abuse, like da da da. You know, narcissism and codependency is on the same spectrum. Like imagine you have like the, you know, like it's just one's here, and we all have access to these. There's not one of us that is not narcissistic and not one of us that's codependent. Now, where you are on that scale, obviously, and I say this in my book, in our unawareness, you co-create darkness. So if the further out you are, the further you are going to create toxicity. The further at equilibrium you are, the more, you know, you balance and you go and things happen, and that's the way you move through life. These aren't necessarily bad qualities. You know, there's sometimes when you want to be codependent on your partner, if something's upset or you just want to snuggle, like that's a real need, that's a real quality, like that's okay. And as a narcissist, like it's okay sometimes that you need to utilize somebody as a team, utilize people's tools and move somewhere. The issue is when it becomes toxic, where you're constantly making excuses of why as a codependent, you are putting others before your own needs. And people around you probably have no idea that you're doing this. Like people around you have no idea. And you're building up all this resentment and anger towards people because you don't really have the knowledge to understand what you're doing. And then with narcissism, you know, I think a lot of people, that is really the deep trauma that occurred at a very young age, usually under the age of, 13. And these children from a very young age start to be narcissistic because the pain, again, they went through was so deep in their body that they've disassociated to have to control and use other people because it's too painful to see themselves. Like imagine, like, it's almost like you're looking at like a huge wound that's been going on for, decades in any case. And that wound has primarily gotten bigger. And then what they've done is taken on other people's identities as themselves to take on not only their wounds, but other people's wounds to cover up their wounds. So like to even get to start working through their wound, it would be a lot of pain. And so I teach you in this book, like how to really lightly look at your trauma and how to make sense of it, which is what I had to do in my healing journey. And which is what I believe actually why COVID was here for me, is to actually look at all this and create this for people's healing journeys.
Yeah, wow, that's wonderful. I love the way you put it. It's so simple, I guess, but we make it so complicated. You spoke about, usually we tend to say, hey, the victim. We speak a lot about the victim that is with a narcissist, but you just spoke about why a narcissist becomes a narcissist, that it could be some chain that they're carrying from, when they were children. And this is just like a facade or a wall or a protection. Now
that is narcissism. Yep.
Yeah. And how do we help, or how do we speak to a narcissist so that narcissist can understand that they're a narcissist and that they need to kind of check themselves? What do you think?
Well, I think it's really important. First of all, no matter where you are in this, I've had men who have been like, Colleen, I've gaslighted, I've been the cheater. Like I've actually had men who have come and said this to me on this book, but you can't make a narcissist look at themselves. Think of a narcissist like literally, like they have the developmental mind of like an 8-year-old. Like, really, like it's so to go to an 8-year-old and say, there's something wrong with you, like you need to do this, like they're gonna be like, hey, what are you talking about? This is my reality. Like that there's no conversation. Like you're talking to a developmental that has stopped because neurologically what's happened in their brain is there's been something that's blocked them from connection because the pain's too deep. So you can't really do anything, to be honest, to make a narcissist want to change. Now, what they say when in your healing journey, and what I personally focused on is, as a codependent, if you realize this, or as a narcissist, all you can say is, I want to be better. You know what? I was the guy or girl that gaslighted someone. I was the person that cheated. shit, like I actually was really not fair what I did to that person. Like I wasn't totally honest. And you know, if you can get into that space and go, but I want to be better, then that's what is the biggest thing. So I think it's important if you're a codependent who is with a narcissist. And I mean, my story by no means was horrific. How I've heard people like children custodies. I mean, luckily I ended that. The guy did ask me if I would have really been pregnant, how much he could have paid to keep the child. Like, and he thinks nothing wrong with that because he would have seen my body as his own, because there's no disconnection between the narcissist and you. And so, you know, I've seen really horrific stories, but all you can do if you're the one who was like, I don't want to say the target, but the codependent, you were the codependent, you can only heal you. You've got to look and you've got to start your self-love journey. You've got to start, you're like, I'm going to be self-empowered for me. You've really got to learn how to say the word no. Really got to learn how to say that word, because otherwise it's like very easy for people to come in, and you've got to like learn to trust yourself. It's another big thing. Like codependence, this is like hard to say, but and it's a lifelong healing. We've really been taught to trust other people more than ourselves. And this would have been from when we were little girls. And I talk about this in my first book, our little boys, Live Your Truth. And we were saying the truth of our reality, and a parent constantly told us our way of reality isn't correct. So we've always basically trusted other people over our own selves from a habit from a very young age. And we've got to unwind that to have the voices in our head trust ourselves versus everyone else. And so that's really the way. And if you're involved with a narcissist, really the only thing you can do is no contact. You've got to cut all contact. Like that's it. Like I know it's hard, and it's like, how is it like no contact, no emotion, no nothing. And all you can do is get your life better, because the better your life get, the better it could inspire them to do something. But that's it.
Wow. So cut them out completely out of your life.
No contact. Yeah.
Said and done. You know, that may be a lot easier said than actually women or men can actually get this done, because I've seen some narcissist women, let me tell you. So give us, I don't know, in your opinion, give our audience, and we're going to, you know, say hello to some of them. Here's Frank. Hi, Frank. He's saying, plug up your water bottle. Right? So that's his advice for people to stop, you know, being a victim, I would say. Yeah. Here's Pedro saying hello, and in Spanish, you know, they know I speak it, so they want me to translate it all the time. And then Jezebel is saying hello, and Edna is saying, gorgeous ladies, great show. Yes, great show when we have great guests. So anyways, let's talk about that for a moment. What is one piece of advice? You know, it's one thing to tell people, okay, you got to cut it out. You got to drop this people and help yourself. Well, give us a practical advice. What would be the one practical advice, or if you have two or three, you know, let them know of how to move into that space where you can actually start healing.
Yeah, your biggest for this type of situation, I mean, you definitely have to go no contact. So whoever it is, I know it's so hard. Like, trust me, I can relate. Like, I feel like I can literally take myself back into the space, you know, and you need to just go, hey, you know, I wish you the best. I want no contact, and do it. You need a minimum of 12 months of no contact. That's what like psychology says, like basic human sanity, because the way that your field was infiltrated, you need to focus on you. So that's one. Two is I really suggest hiring a mentor, getting around someone who can help you, even if it's a therapist, to heal, to focus on yourself and to talk through the trauma you just went through. Like you just went through something traumatic where you realized you allowed someone to cross boundaries because you didn't understand boundaries. You didn't really understand what was happening. You're disconnected from your body. So you've really got to get in an environment where you have to show up to and be accountable to talk through your process, talk through your feelings, and become whole. And the third thing I really believe is you've got to start journaling. You've got to start reading. So you've got to start reading books that are going to let you feel like, wow, you're not the only person who this happened to. You want to read books about past trauma, what could have happened in your past child or in your childhood or your past of why this happened to you. Looking at other areas of your life where you kind of sacrificed or compromised yourself on. So like where you're not showing up to the job, the passion project, the workouts, whatever it was, like you've got to look at those, and then you've got to just journal your thoughts. You've got to journal your feelings. You have to specifically say, like, I choose this to be my reality. I choose to be whole. I choose to be sovereign. I choose to be someone who's dependent on myself. I choose to trust myself. I choose to be fully self-expressed. I choose to forgive myself. Like, these are like things you've really got to like write out and commit to, and get around someone who's going to help you integrate this. And just talk about the things and the events that happen, because it's very traumatizing, because you basically were out of your body when things happened to you or with you that you experienced that you wouldn't have done if you were in your body. And so it's like very scary, because even whether it's cooking someone a meal, even if it's just something small, but it's like, that actually wasn't what I wanted to do. And I feel like I had no choice. So I feel violated. And you've got to understand that emotionally and physically. So you can, basically what I write in my book is so you can understand that in our unawareness, we co-create darkness. So you can actually move into the light and fall in love with how you want to actually experience life.
I can't wait to read your book. And you know what? I have to say, just to give some people that are listening that may be going through this type of emotions or relationships or situations, you know, I've seen many cases of people actually finding the light, and the light is beautiful. And if I had to do it over again, because obviously I was a victim of a narcissist, and you know, I also came out and realized that that was my situation. And for me, it took me 10 months to find exactly who I was. And I had to do it in a setting that was very private. You know, I couldn't really like, a lot of times when you want people to feel bad for you, you kind of call your friends and try to speak about it. And I have to say that didn't really work for me. I had to really find this friend inside, right?
Yeah. And I think that I wouldn't say definitely not talk about it to your friends. Like, you need to talk about it with a mentor. Like, you need to hire someone or a therapist. Like, I don't think this is a situation, I should say, that you can't just talk about with your friends. Like, I tried that, and that was a friendship that actually got ruined, because people who don't understand it, they aren't going to get why you can't move through it so quickly. Like, they're going to do that because you are trying to learn, like you said, learn yourself, learn you. Like, what do I like? How can I please myself instead of what I call my book, the disease of people pleasing? And how can you rise into the truth of your divinity? Like, how can you find your soul and really trust your soul? Because it doesn't make logical sense. And unless you're working with someone who knows this or in therapy, you're going to only re-traumatize yourself. So I definitely recommend like getting a book, getting this book, getting a book, getting multiple books. And I understand that. Get a journal so you can write your thought down, and definitely hire a mentor or a therapist to help you move through it.
And I second that. So everybody watching, go get Colleen's book. It's right there, An Uncompromised Life. And they'll be able to find you, right?
Yep. Yeah. I'll leave the link in the comments to get the book. So that way I do a signed copy of it when you get it from my website, and I do like a specific hand channel note to you. And then we also have the full like healing experience or healing box.
I was going to ask you about your life magical experience box. Can you please tell me more?
Yes. So this is the book, An Uncompromised Life. And what I do is I open it and I write you a note, like that's specific for you. But this is the healing journey. So this is everything I really healed myself with. I think a lot of times when you go through trauma or really bad heartbreak, it's helping you with your root chakra, which is red. So it's helping you actually ground into this reality instead of kind of just being in your head and disconnected. And so when you open it, we have this beautiful piece of artwork that Yvonne de la Flor made, and it's sacred geometry. So for those of you who do it or not know, but the intention is for you to receive it and understand that you're entering into the world of consciousness and into the center, and you're really meant to radiate safety and security from within outward instead of looking for it outwardly to bring in. And then we have a beautiful little card that I've written. So it says, sometimes this beautiful journey, or treasure this beautiful journey of miracles as your soul reveals to you what it means to experience an uncompromised life. And I write a channeled poem for you. And then you also get the book with a signed copy. And then we have our Crystella crystal, which is my daughter's and my crystal, because crystals carry souls. So if you experience loss of any kind, from child loss to anything with COVID, it's rose quartz, which is a heart opener. So it's allowing the spirit of its past to be near you and for you to be able to feel it in your heart from their heart.
Wow.
So we've done it.
I'm excited to order it. I promise you I will order it this week from you because I want a signed copy. And I'll come on here and talk about it after, I read it. And, it's so important to invest in yourself. This is the one thing that you want to do. Everybody watching us, this is just, look at it as an investment to your soul, an investment to your future, because I guarantee you, once you're cured, you become a whole different person, a person that you're probably admiring right now, and you don't even know that it's within you. So I'm excited to order it, Colleen. Give our audience one last thought, and let's close it out because our show is done. Our show is done already.
So my favorite thing actually to do with any of my books, actually, where I tell people when you get my book, always randomly open it to a first page, and that's your message from the universe. So I did that for us. So for you guys watching, I asked, while you were just speaking, show me what's here for the audience. And this is what the page was. It was chapter 6, letting go. Letting go, lesson 5, has been the most challenging lesson for me to integrate in my life. Both the idea and action of letting go kept coming back to me in various ways. Most of our lessons continue to come through in different situations and people as we come into more expansive states in life, since the universe is always testing us to see if we are truly committed to our evolution. The more we begin to open our eyes and allow ourselves to see just how important we are within the greater equation of the universe, new things will be demanded of us. In order for us to become who we are meant to be, there are more things we have to become aware of and let go of. Everything we have ever known has gotten us to this point, yet for where we are going, we have to let go of everything we've ever known. So that was the message from you guys, from my book to you in this moment.
Wow, that was so beautiful. I just got chills all over my body. So please, everybody, go support this amazing human. You guys know I promote beautiful souls all the time, and I can't wait to read the book. And thank you so much for being on the show again. And remember, mi casa es tu casa. So anytime you got anything new going on, let me know, and we'll have you back here. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Faride.
Well, I'll see you guys all next Monday at 1:00. Remember, it's a new schedule that we got, but so glad to have you all here. Have a beautiful Monday. We're almost, the third week in March. So if you haven't done what your goal said, press the restart button and start all over again. In the meantime, thank you, Colleen. We love you. And
I love you.
We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way.